Are you making these winter fishing mistakes? We're about to get into today the mistakes I see and know of people making while fishing in the winter. I love to fish during this time of year. In my 18 years of bass fishing, the winter might be my favorite for a variety of reasons. Now, if you're watching this video, I know it's different compared if you're up in the north to the south. Down here, you know, our winter is different than you are up north, where y'all might have your lakes frozen and you can't go out for a couple months. But down here, we typically get to fish 365 days of the year. Now, we might have snow or ice, and it might slow us down just for a week or so. But guys, we're gonna have 4 mistakes I see anglers make when fishing in these conditions. Guys, really quick, I'm gonna share with you guys, see this right here behind me, 2024 Icon LX21. This boat is for sale right now at Futural Marine. Beautiful boat. I've been in 3 Icons during the recent year on my on the water lessons, forward facing sonar trips. Man, I've been impressed by them. If you want more information on this boat, send me a message. Check the link in the description. That'll take you to the Futural Marine page. Now guys, let's get into the 4 fishing mistakes. The first one is a mistake that I made, okay? And that is actually not trusting or understanding that you can catch fish shallow in the winter. I grew up on deep, clear reservoirs, and I also fished some lowland reservoirs as well as stained and kind of muddier water. I always thought that fish just were deep in the winter. And I fished deep. I had success fishing deep. I had my struggles of fishing deep. I was always a deep guy, okay? And I always loved that offshore deal. But then about 6, 7, 5 years ago, whatever it was, I learned that, hey, you can catch them shallow. I always heard about catch them on lipless crankbaits, catch them on shallower crankbaits in the winter. And I was like, dude, there's no way. The bladed jig's another one. That's a lure that people don't think you can catch fish in the winter on. And you can. I've caught fish with a bladed jig in 45-degree water. But there are situations in time, water clarity, that it must. For me, that stained water to muddy water is a great opportunity to target fish that are shallow. When you have sunnier days, it does warm up rocks and wood. But with that, guys, if you haven't them fish will kind of get up on rocks, and you won't be catching multiple fish. You're kind of singling 1 to 2 fish, but you might find stretches where there are more groups of fish. So do not forget on fishing shallow in the winter, okay? So many different places you can do it in so many different ways. I might need to make a whole video on it instead of just going on this. Mistake number 2 is the clothing. Guys, you got to be comfortable in fishing in the winter. You got to be comfortable. And in these conditions, when there's 32 degrees all day, or you're fishing in 40 degrees and it's 20-mile-per-hour wind, or you're just fishing those cold days, you got to have the right gear. I know for me, I like to dress more than less. I'm going to have the leggings. I'm going to have the thermal. I'm going to have a shirt over it. I'm going to have another hoodie. I'm going to have the gear. I am geared out, okay? One thing I will say is gloves. I love my Bass Pro XPS gloves. I have no affiliation with Bass Pro, but when people ask me about fishing in the winter, how do you use these gloves? How do you fish these gloves? Guys, I've been using these gloves for 5 years. Not one pair. I get a new pair typically every year. And I keep the old pairs in my truck for people if they need them or want to try them out. They have the little slits. I can take my fingers out when I'm tying on lures or wanting to touch the graph when I'm fishing. But these gloves for me are my favorite, and they're cost friendly. They're like $20 to $30. They used to be $20, but I think they're $30 now as everything else has gone up, okay? Now, number 3 mistake is only going out on the pretty days in the winter. Now, I know if it's your one Saturday of the month and it's nice weather, you get to go fish, okay? Your one Saturday of the week because you're working 5 days. But let's say that day is going to be nasty. It's going to be windy, it's going to be cloudy, maybe a little bit of rain, maybe a little bit of sleet. Guys, the fishing during those days is phenomenal at times. That's when that shallow bite's going to come through. These are the days where you might have a big bag. And from my experience, I've had multiple trips where it is nasty weather and it goes down. I know one that I've shared on my recent trips where me and Johnny Schultz was out on a day that it was sleeting. We were out on Lake Ouachita back in 2013 or no, 2014, okay, guys? It was nasty this day. So there was a bad accident in the Duck Woods of Arkansas where someone lost their life because it was such bad conditions. And we were out here fishing in it at Ouachita, and we caught some fish. Now, with all that, it was kind of scary because we had no cell phone service, and Johnny's mom and my girlfriend, who's my wife now, was trying to find out where we were. And anyway, so that was one thing. There's no cell service. When it's nasty weather, you might need to be around some cell service. But this was back before the cell towers and stuff was just as good. But anyway, I've shared that trip recently, how like to people with me, like, hey, this was a nasty day. And Johnny ended up catching like 2 fish over 6 pounds. It was Lake Ouachita, man. We had a blast. We actually moved on this day. The weather, you're talking about weather, the waves were so bad. We were in a 17-foot boat, and it was like 4 or 5 foot waves on the main lake. We launched out of one ramp, and I knew I couldn't make it across because I didn't have the experience. Smaller boat, I was scared. I turned the boat around, went to the boat ramp, put it on the trailer, and then we drove to another ramp and got kind of out of that wind. So just to let you know what you can do on conditions when the weather is like this, guys. Okay, now the last one is lure size, okay? Lure size is big when fishing in the winter, okay? So with the lure size, you've always heard about downsizing, and right now on some of my lakes I've had to downsize to catch fish, but you can still catch fish on big baits in the winter. There was a couple days last year at Lake Ouachita where they didn't want the small bait, okay? They didn't want the jig head minnow, and then I dropped the flutter spoon on them and they ate it. For some reason they wanted big that day. Then there's days they want that little tiny stuff. So with that, it's either downsize or big. That big jerkbait, for example, the big one, I forgot the brand. It's a Smithwick. It's a big old rattling rogue or suspended, one of those big rogues. I'm gonna put all the tackle and stuff down in the description. But I remember Johnny in February caught his personal best on the big jerkbait. And I know some other guys as well. Those big Alabama rigs will be a player with bigger swim baits as well. So guys, either downsizing or going big. And I know it kind of depends on your lake. You watch enough of Milliken videos down there in Texas, he's throwing these big glide baits. Well, there are big gizzard shads in those lakes, and those big fish are going to eat 1 or 2 times a day, and he's triggering them to feed during that winter time, okay? But for me, the flutter spoon was a player last winter for a couple trips. Maybe it'll be a player again this trip, okay? Guys, on some tackle and baits, for the lipless crankbait for that shallow fishing, I like the Strike King Red Eye Shad. All my stuff's going to be down in the description. I like the Strike King Red Eye Shad. I also like the 6 Sense Quake. Okay, there's a couple other ones, a Booyah One Knocker. I'll put all those down there in the description. Throwing the Level NGX 7.2 medium heavy fast. I'll put all that down there as well. And for some other baits like the downsize, and for the jig head minnow, I like throwing that Baby Z2 this time of year. I'll put that down there on a 1/2 ounce queen tackle head using the 7.1 medium light fast Level NGX rod. When I'm throwing the flutter spoons, that Dixie Jet, Falcon, or Talon, mainly the Falcon was a player for my clear lakes, and I'm throwing it on a 7-8 heavy fast with a 7-10 medium heavy moderate rod. I'll put a couple more baits down there as well for you guys. Appreciate you. Let me know of any other winter fishing mistakes that you guys know or want to share about. Leave them in the comments. And now let's get into the Faith Juice. Welcome to the Faith Juice part of today's episode, guys. Appreciate all the feedback I've gotten from it today. We're going to talk about something that I know, it's a topic that people, I think, can kind of struggle with, and all of us kind of struggle with at times, and it's money. And with that is it's the love of money. And the love of money as in, is it your desire? Is it your top priority but before your family, before your faith? And I know today with how things are going, I mean, the stuff's more expensive. It's it just doesn't seem like life's easy at times. But with a short time on earth, are you going to take all your possessions and everything you have with you when you die? And I know there's always people saying, "Hey, I want to enjoy life here," and that's fine. We're here to enjoy with what we have, but there's so many people in the world that have less than us here, even in America, and they're living life happily. And it seems like if you just put money as your number one priority, you're not going to be happy. Just from people we've talked to. And I know there's successful people that do well with their money, and they're happy, and you might not even know they have money, and they do a good job of giving it. And I know that's I'm not here just to say it's a bad thing to have money. But if it is your top priority, your number one, this could be an issue, of course. As it says here in Hebrews 13:5, your life should be free from the love of money. Be satisfied with what you have, for he himself has said, I will never leave you or forsake you. And then Matthew 6:24 says, no one can be a slave of two masters, since either he will hate one and love another, or be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot be slaves of God and money. Just two things there, okay? And so I know for me at times, with the family, with the kids, I'm over here trying to hustle and us trying to do everything we can. But it just always seems by we're getting by and we're a happy family. And we're not over here just, millionaires, right? And if you are a millionaire, that's wonderful, And I know, like I said, there's people out there that have been successful, that have made it, but they're not always lovers of money. It's just, things have fallen in the right place. And so just here today, if you're in that situation where you're just loving money and that's all you're caring about, you're missing out the other wonderful things of this world that we get to live in. Appreciate you guys. Come back to the Fishing Coach YouTube channel. Have a Merry Christmas, and we will see you on the next one.